Sup? Welcome to episode number 139 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choit. If you're new here, what I do is interview people from all walks of life, most often comedians and other entertainment types, creative types about their lives and careers. The conversation is casual, but I also ask everyone to highlight the people they love, who they admire, who've influenced them, supported them, inspired them. For more, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That domain forwards to my link tree where you can find all things related to the show, including the YouTube channel. So please subscribe to that if you're watching. The Instagram is at People We Love Podcast. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as well at Adam Choit if you want to follow me. And of course, please remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. All of my other projects and podcasts and things I'm working on can be found at adamchoit.com, which also does forward to my link tree with all relevant links. So today we have Cleveland, Ohio's own HEXcellerate. Working in tech, this man wears several hats, including being a music producer and a co-host of the Golden Shower Sunday stream with Forrest Mommy, who was a recent guest of this show. A firearms enthusiast and defender of the Second Amendment, Hex credits Colion Noir, Toure, and his dad for helping push him with his training and education. This was a lot of fun, so let's just get started. Here's HEXcellerate. Okay, so it's good to see you today, Hex. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Oh, for sure. Do you go by Hex or HEXcellerate? And
Hex is fine.
I'm going to get right into it. Can you explain sort of what Hex is and what HEXcellerate is and what's the origin of all that?
There's nothing. Honestly, there's nothing too deep about it. I just wanted something that sounded cool, and for one reason or another, I wanted Hex to be in it. So I'm just like spitballing ideas out of my head. Then I put together HEXcellerate, and I'm like, I kind of like the sound of that. And I did a quick Google search just to make sure no one else had it anywhere. It was completely free, so I'm like, I'm rolling with this, and I've been rolling with it for several years now.
I remember like way back in the day when like the internet was new and it had like AOL Instant Messenger or whatever and all this stuff. I would make screen names that meant nothing, that just like sounded cool, and
pretty
at least
much
in my own mind. How are you holding up during whatever year this is?
2023. Let's see. Other than the rampant inflation, impending World War III, and a chemical cloud that appeared like a couple of hours from me, I'm good.
Oh man, what a year already. But you're hanging in there. It sounds like.
Yep.
And you're in Cleveland?
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
Born and raised. Very very cool. Let's get into it. Let's get into your life and your background and all that. I kind of asked for what people's like earliest memories are, even like why not start there? Sights and sounds that jump out at you, even like maybe kindergarten earlier, kind of. I'll give you the floor to respond to that. I stumped you already.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of things from my childhood I don't really.
You don't want to remember?
I don't even know if it's that. It might be that. It could be a subconscious thing, but shoot.
Well, you were born in. You said you were from Cleveland. Did you have siblings and family? What's the kind of your background?
All right, so I have 4 sisters, believe it or not. 2 of them have different moms, so I'm not really close with them. My third oldest, she has a different father. I'm closer to her than with my eldest 2, and then I have a younger sister. We both have the same parents, and she and I are really close. And she actually lives with me. Go figure. My mom and my dad, they were married when I was born. They divorced right before I started high school, and that was a whole roller coaster of an experience.
I'm sure. We'll get to that. And if you want, you can speak to that however much you want or don't want to, of course. What about like let's go to like elementary school. What kind of like kid were you then? What were you into as like
I was a
elementary school kid?
So as you've probably picked up on, very introverted. So I was very much a quiet, reserved, I kept to myself, didn't really talk to people. I was really good, historically been really good in school. up until, later years where I just kind of got lazy because, schoolwork is dumb and boring. But
No, I was,
yeah,
no, I was gonna say it's funny because you saying my parents got divorced in high school, and then you're like, I used to be a good student, then became a bad student. In my head, I'm like, yeah, he probably was going through personal things, so that was why he was struggling. You're like, nah, I was just lazy.
no, and I didn't like completely fall off. It's just, grades slipped here and there, and I did always manage to bounce back. But again, it's just like I said, schoolwork is dumb and boring. So, uh, yeah, like I said, very always good in school, really big into academics. Science historically was my favorite subject growing up. I was
Even in elementary school, even when you
yep,
were you were that young, you were always like kind of an academic, nerdy, reading kind of kid. Is
yep,
that kind of
yep. And I was also creative, but that didn't really start to manifest until later on. I remember, what was it? Middle school, like seventh, eighth grade, started drawing a lot, and then I picked that up more in high school, just drawing even more. Then I discovered Adobe Photoshop. I started messing around with that, and then got good with that. And also, while I was in high school, that's when I picked up music. And I know we're gonna get into that.
Oh
I
yeah,
know, but that's a quick tidbit about that.
I got you. Where did this personality come from? This sort of introverted, smart, academically savvy already as like an elementary school kid. Where did that come from? Is that just something you just naturally became, or was it like from where did it come from?
I'm pretty sure it's just natural. I don't really remember being any different when I was younger.
But it sounds like maybe you stand out in some regard from your family and friends and just the average kid who is kind of not that way in terms of
Yeah, yeah,
smarts,
I
I
do, I
guess.
do, I do stand out. That's just hilariously something I thought about recently about how much I stood out from my family, and and that stems from like politics to just interest in like the music and whatever else I like, and I don't really have a specific reason for it other than that's just how it always was.
You're the black sheep of your family.
Yeah, but I was also like the black sheep, but not in a bad way. More like I was the one that they always put up on a pedestal.
Really? Why
Yeah.
is that? Because you're the smartest? Did your family actually lean on your intelligence, like even when you were a little kid or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And they all used to brag to our other family members and their friends, "Oh my God, he's so smart," and all that.
Would you get like straight A's and all through like elementary school and middle school and stuff like that?
Pretty much.
It was easy though, school.
Yeah, yeah. Back then it was like child's play, literally.
Yeah, my grades descended not rapidly, but gradually, I guess is the better word, over the years. Like elementary school was the easiest, and then it got harder, and I didn't get smarter or work harder. So, but I did well enough, you get by. What about like sports or anything like that? Were you into that even when you were in like elementary school, middle school? Always more on
No,
the
no,
academic
and it's
side.
hilarious because well, this didn't happen later on. So context, I'm 6'8". Like I'm
Dude, are you really?
yes.
No,
And
you're not 6'8" on Zoom, on YouTube, on StreamYard.
you
Damn.
stand next to me, you will feel short.
You're
But
6'8" black man. I think I know where we're going with this conversation.
yep. This didn't really start till like middle school when I started to hit my growth spurt. But I never had an interest in sports to begin with. It was just something like I don't really care. But middle school and then it really ramped up in high school. I kept hearing, "Oh my God, you're that tall. You need to be playing basketball. Do you play basketball? Why do you play basketball?" And I swear to God, that is my most hated question that I get asked. And that just pushed me away from sports even more. It's just like I definitely don't want to deal with it now that I get so much. Now that the pressure is coming on,
Did you ever play or try any other sports, even basketball
I
for a
dabbled in
minute?
football. I dabbled in football a little bit. I think I dabbled in soccer as well. I want to say. a little bit, but
I
nothing
could,
stuck.
yeah, I could see how that would be annoying. Everyone asking you that question over and over again, and you getting sick of it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Like we should make choices based on what other people are telling us or think of us. Like, but clearly, it wasn't other. You weren't not choosing basketball because of other people. It was just one more thing to add to the list of reasons why you
Exactly.
don't
Like I
want to
said,
play.
yeah, like I said, I didn't. There was a time when I was younger where while I wasn't interested in playing it, I did watch a little bit. But whatever reason, like I don't know, I discovered video games or something that I just stopped caring. You know, and it's just the constant harassment on top of me not caring to begin with. It's just, oh my god, a nightmare.
Yeah, I got you. When did you have your growth spurt?
12, 13, and then that lasted till I was like 20, maybe.
Yeah, I am 5'7.5", so I'm just like kind of curious while I got you here. This is a broad, stupid question, but like, tell me about being tall.
It has its perks. You don't have to ask people to get something. If you're in a store, you don't need to ask people to get something from a high shelf. And I have had people ask me to do that, which,
I bet.
I'm happy to help.
Right.
Concerts are great because, you can basically stand anywhere and see what's going on. And, apparently a lot of ladies dig taller dudes. So
I may have heard this.
But let's see what else.
Airplane, but the
Man,
things that I was gonna say, things that are tough is like airplanes, obviously, and stuff like that's a pain.
oh my god, yeah, like
Yeah, I don't want to
flying
go.
is a
I hope
nightmare.
the pros list isn't too long. I'm already like, let's go to the cons. We've said enough things that are pro. No, what were you gonna say about?
No, I guess the other thing is like there's a certain intimidation factor that comes into play. So if you're just like walking about, don't want to be messed with, I don't know, people they see this giant dude. It seems like they think twice before trying to do something. So I don't really get people fucking with me in that regard. And I also carry a gun everywhere I go. So there's also that. But
Yeah, you are not to be messed with for multiple reasons. What about besides the gun or being tall? Do ever been in, done any like what do you call it, like self defense, martial arts, or any get involved with any of
when
that
I
stuff?
was when I was younger, I took some self defense courses, but then just stopped for whatever reason. And last year I took up boxing a little bit just to get a feel for it. And I think I might either do that or take up some kind of martial art. I just need to look around, see what I want to do.
Gotcha. And what about like your friends in like middle school and stuff like that? Like, did you connected? I'm guessing with other. I'm gonna say nerds, I guess, science nerds, or what do you call it, video game nerds, or you're. I'm sure you're a little bit younger than me, so your video games were not 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System.
Pretty much, right?
You're
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
you were after that.
yeah. Like, nah, yeah, a bit after when they started being 3D and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird because I was the kid who got picked on because nerdy kid glasses, whatever, it is what it is. But I don't know, I was also able to like at least be cordial with most people. So I did have a lot of friends who were nerdy, academically inclined, uh video game players, but I did also have acquaintances who were like totally the opposite. It's just, and that's still the case to this day. And I don't know, people just I tend to at least get along with a lot of people.
That's good. What kind of music were you listening to when you were in like middle school, 12, 13 years old kind of stuff?
That's when I got into like rock and metal, and that's kind of where I started to stand out from like my family and peers, because especially like back in the day, especially if you were like black and listened to like metal, you were outcasted and made fun of, and that sucked. But that's what I liked, and I wasn't gonna change that. If I get made fun of, then it is what it is. Not like, I'm already getting made fun of enough for a million other reasons. What's one more? But yeah, that at that time, that was basically what I exclusively listened to. Then I quit being so closed-minded, opened up, started listening to electronic music. Then that just kind of branched out into the various genres of music that I listen to now. Like I can go from like Slayer to Stevie Wonder, just like that.
No, that's cool, and that's admirable. And it doesn't sound like you were necessarily like closed-minded. It seemed like you were maybe the opposite, open-minded, because you were like obviously everyone around you or a lot of people around you were not into rock and metal or whatever, and then you found that anyway. So that's a sign that you were open-minded. You were just I mean, I'm guessing and it sounds like you were just evolving from the metal to
Yeah,
electronica
you
to
know
all
that I think
different
that is
genres.
right. I think that that is a better way to put it. Actually, that is a
Who
better way to put it. I think.
Who are your favorite? Who I mean, obviously you have eclectic tastes and have gone through different phases and evolutions. But who are your favorite metal band? You mentioned is that Slayer your favorite metal band or
They're one I listened to. They weren't my favorite, but they're still in my rotation now. Uh, Back in those days, my favorite band at the time was Disturbed. They were like the new metal band that came out in 2000. Are you familiar?
I know of them. I'm not as I don't really I'm not like a I don't really know much. Metal's not really my thing, I guess but
Right.
I
Okay,
know
that's
of it
fair.
and some of the more popular stuff, of course. But what is it about metal that you found particularly appealing?
I don't know. It was different, I guess, for one than what my contemporaries were listening to. It was a lot of hip hop and soul and R&B, which is all well and good, but metal is just something different. It felt almost, I don't want to say real, but maybe grounded is the right word, because especially with like, well, hip hop at the time that just started going off fake, and then with like R&B and soul and stuff like that, it's a lot of love songs, which again, all well and good, but not really my thing. Like with like rock and metal, it was just like more grounded. Like, let's not talk about, like sometimes we'll talk about some bad things that are going on personally or in the world, or stuff like that. Sometimes we'll talk about good things, and we'll just talk about all kinds of stuff that a lot of people would shy away from. That's something I gravitated towards. Another thing is just, I don't know, that's also when I started to fall in love with the guitar. The sound of an electric guitar is just something else.
Yeah, that you kind of answered my next question. When did you start playing guitar or playing instruments? Was around that age?
That I was high school when I got my first guitar. It was like, I actually remember the day I got it. It was June 24th, 2010. It was a Saturday. Because the high school I went to, we had an extended year, so that is what it is. It was like the day after my last day of school. We went to Guitar Center that next Saturday. My dad bought me my first guitar, which was a black Epiphone Les Paul Special 2, which is like their like one of their like beginner models or whatever. And I freaking love that thing. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore, but man, that changed that that really changed my life, I think.
But your dad wasn't a guitar player or into heavy metal or anything, or was he?
No.
Well, that's cool. It sounded like he supported this idea and your venture, and must have seen that you were excited about wanting to learn to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I credit him. He did definitely support me a lot. I know he didn't like it for a long time because he didn't like the music, but what do you do?
Well, that's very admirable, respectable and cool. Because like supporting something that you're not, it's not something he was hardcore into, but wanted to do what you wanted to support, what you were into and what you love. So that's cool. I play a little guitar too, obviously. And I remember when I first started, um, I mean, it's still a very challenging instrument, and it's limitless to how good or how bad you can be at it, I guess. But what do you
Right.
remember about like first picking it up and learning? What was kind of like the most difficult things in the early going? Because I've seen you strum chords and heard your music. I know you could play now, of course. But what about when you first started? What do you remember about the real early days?
Early, I didn't get lessons right away. So, and on top of that, No, the divorce between my parents just happened, and my dad. I kept it at my dad's place. I wasn't allowed to bring it from there because he didn't want to pay for a new one if someone broke it or whatever. So I only got to play it on the weekends. I went to his place, but I didn't get lessons right away. I wouldn't get lessons for another year. So one thing I have fond memories of is going on YouTube and looking up tutorials about, how to play, Enter Sandman by Metallica or Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses or all these other songs, or how do I play this scale or how do I play this chord? Like the whole YouTube thing was big even back then.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking that because like when I started playing guitar, I think there were tabs and some chords or on the internet and things started to appear. But like now with YouTube and lessons and there's just so much material online and people doing tons of like all this stuff is so many resources out there to learn from for sure. Did you join a band?
No. Well, okay, here's one exception. For an extracurricular activity in my junior year of high school, I joined the jazz band. It was an extracurricular activity, but it was fun. I learned some stuff. I did find it a little bit intimidating because of the other musicians that were in it were leagues better than me. So I was like, I'm just this newbie, and then all these guys are far more proficient than I am. So it's like, I don't know if I should be here, but no, it was fun. I did learn a lot, and we did play at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here.
Dude, that's super impressive because it sounds like that was shortly after you started playing, if I'm following correctly. Like to go from not playing at all to playing jazz, like I don't most people can't do that. Like, if you're new at playing guitar, and you're not proficient or a virtuoso, you might find yourself in a punk band or something like that. But to
Yeah,
play jazz, like that's impressive.
yeah, and to be fair, none of the stuff I was playing was like super complicated, but still, again, going from zero to somewhat hero in a relatively short amount of time. And that is another thing about me. Like whenever I like pick up something new, it doesn't take me long to catch on. Like I'm a pretty quick learner. So I think that had something
Oh
to do
yeah,
with
you're
it
smart. That's right.
too.
I forgot about that. Did you have a favorite like YouTube teacher or anything like that you followed?
Shoot, that's a good question. Not
You just
at
search
the time.
songs.
At the time, not really, because I was just going all over the place. Like I was just trying to find any piece of information that I could, and that in those sets, I never really found like one or two channels that were like, okay, I'm sticking with these guys. Well, there are a couple that I did stick to, like I don't know if they're still around, but the channel was called Lick Library, where they would like teach you like parts of different songs and different techniques and whatever. And it was like a whole professional thing. They had different guitars for different genres. They had like this whole like if you look at the production for their videos, you can clearly see that it was on a more professional level. There were one. Who else? There was this other guy. His name was Marty Schwartz.
Yeah, Marty Music. Yeah, he's good. I
Yep.
follow I
Yeah.
follow him. Yep.
Yeah. He was another guy I followed back in the day. Those are the two that stick out to me at least.
Do you ever watch his stuff anymore these days?
Not really. I need to dive back in and see what he's up to now.
Yeah, I feel like I need more hours in a day to do all the things I want to, including taking online guitar lessons or just watching these. There's just
Right.
so much stuff out there, and like you can get out of a rut just by learning a new lick or something like that, because then you could take that lick and play it in different keys and play it with different notes and play the same rhythm. There's so many things that are transformable, I think, in music. Like you learn one idea and then that leads to all
You can
these
do
other
a million
ideas.
other things with it.
Right,
Yep.
right. It's fun. Keeps me off the streets. What about in high school? What I mean, maybe you were this jazz band was in high school, you said?
Yeah, that was my junior year.
Yeah, tell me about what kind of dude you were in high school and maybe some more specifics about what was going on around that time.
Uh, High school is just honestly kind of more of the same. Um, I started to, for lack of a better term, come out of my shell a little bit in high school because, like I said, super introverted, super quiet, very reserved. don't really like talking to people. I started
And
to
yet
come
you're
out
on
of
podcast because
yeah,
because
it's
you said that
hilarious.
I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry, but you said before you're like, oh, I'm kind of introverted and quiet, and you probably can tell. I'm like, not really. If you're on podcast, you're on a podcast right now, and all this stuff.
To be fair, high school was like 10 years ago, and a lot can happen
Right? No,
in
but
that time.
I think you said you were still introverted even to this day, or on the quiet side.
I mean, I am, but
I know what you mean. I kind of can
yeah, you know
feel
what I mean. You know what I
we're
mean.
we on the inside we kind of like feel like I don't want to say I'm an extroverted introvert. I don't want to say that as some white girl shit, but like but like yeah, no, I get you feel quieter, but you kind of push yourself a little bit to put yourself out there by being on podcasts and bands or being more out there with your music or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much that. High school, I started to come out of that introverted shell a little bit. This is a bit difficult back then because just like with middle school and elementary school, I got made fun of for one reason or another, which sucks, but it is what it is. Kids are just assholes. There's nothing you can really do about it. But, started to come out of my shell then. But other than that, kind of more of the same, really.
But you said you weren't doing as good in school at that point. You're kind of you
Yeah,
just got lazy.
overall, I did good. Yeah, like I said, I just got lazy because I just fucking hated doing the busy work that they gave us.
You weren't challenged by the curriculum. Is that what it
Pretty
was?
much.
You weren't interested in what were you interested in learning? This more science stuff is kind of where your
I
interest
don't.
lay.
I guess not being pushed hard enough. No, that's not even right. It's just like they just gave us so much busy work. Here, like go read these 3 chapters in your biology book and then write notes on them, or here do these like 6 pages of math problems, or here's this book report, which god, by the way, like the high school I went to, we had to do book reports over the summer. Hated that too. It's just like mundane busy work. Just like give me something interesting to do.
What would you have rather been doing like with your time at that point if you could be doing anything? I guess playing music
Yeah,
or
like biology, like towards the end of the year, we did dissections, and that was fun. I would have liked to do that all year. And hilariously, my biology teacher said, if it was up to him, we would do dissections all year. But then you had like all these standardized tests, which like here in Ohio, we had the OGT was one of them, the Ohio graduation test, and like the ACT and all that shit. So, they had to like prepare us for that. I don't know, just basically anything other than mundane busy work. That's the best
and
way I can put it.
yeah, and what were you thinking like for plans, thoughts, ideas for after high school, like going into like your junior, senior year, like I'm going to college, I'm going to work. What
Yeah, the plan was to go straight to college right after high school. High school was around the time I got into high school was when I started picking up graphic design. So I wanted to go to school for that. I did for a semester. I went to Xavier University in Cincinnati for a semester for graphic design. I didn't finish because Xavier is a private school and hella expensive. And it's even worse now. And I didn't want to drown myself in debt for it. I just wasn't willing to do that. So I ended up dropping out after a semester due to financial reasons.
Gotcha. And then where do we go from there?
Also, like toward the end of the high school, that's when I got into the production side of music. Don't be mad at me, Image Line, but at the time I pirated a copy of FL Studio and started messing around with that.
What is that? What is that software?
Yeah, it's a software. It's so there's a piece of there's this software called a digital audio workstation, or DAW, which is basically just like an entire studio in your computer. You can record, program stuff, do all kinds of stuff. FL Studio is the one I use, but there are a bunch of them out there. I started getting into that in high school, and then of course continue with that even to this day. But let's see, after that stint in college, I came back to Cleveland, worked a shit job here and there just to get some money. At one point I wanted to go back to school for tech. I moved to Cincinnati. My eldest sister lives there now. I lived with her for several months. Uh, the going back to school that fell through, so I ended up coming back to Cleveland again. Worked a job here and there, but then I actually finally did um, get some tech certifications under my belt, and I work in tech now. Been at this company I'm at for 2 years now, bit over 2 years.
I mean, I probably won't understand what you say anyway, but what does that mean? What kind of tech stuff? Like
So I wanted to get into IT in general because I was
there's work
always
in that.
yeah, I was always tech savvy. So it's like, okay, I'm already good at this and always have been. So why don't I just do that for money? But what I do specifically, the company I work for is an electronics recycler. So a lot of companies, when they like get rid of old equipment, instead of just like throwing it in a landfill or something like that, they send it to us. We go through it, get what we can that's good, and refurbish it, and we sell it to low income households.
That sounds like a good thing on multiple fronts. Recycling, helping people,
Exactly.
and people need tech
Uh,
improves the quality of our lives,
yeah,
obviously.
at this point, you can't really escape it. So, if you can provide it to people who are struggling cheap, then that's a good thing.
I got you. So we're in tech. We've been working in tech quite a while, it sounds like, and you do music producing as well.
Yep.
What kind of, I mean, I was listening to your stuff. It's cool. Do you do for where do you sell your music or license your music? What do you?
So, there's a service. I don't know if you're familiar. There's a service called Bandcamp where you just make an account, upload your music, share it around, and people can buy it. Or you can either give it out for free, or you can charge for it. No, they leave that up to you. People have bought my music before, and shout out to all those people. They're great. I do want to get into licensing, but I just need to get some more stuff under my belt before I do that. Uh,
It's your side hustle. It's more of a
yeah, right
side
now it's
hustle.
more of a side hustle / hobby.
Sounds like you have a bunch of what I can relate side hustles and hobbies because you do
Oh yeah, it's
music producing. Obviously, you're on podcasts, and we'll get into that stuff. And you said you're doing some graphic design stuff as well now. Did you
yeah,
introduce that?
yeah. At this point, I just like if you look at the artwork for my music, I made all that myself. So that's mainly where that fell now. I've also done a little bit of video editing. Again, that's just mostly for myself. Yeah, like I got a lot of hobbies that I gotta keep up with.
No, I hear you, and I could relate for sure. How did you get connect? Well, tell me. I guess tell me about politics because obviously you're friends and friendly with Forest Mommy and you're her co-host, correct, on her show, on one of her shows,
Yep.
and you're an introverted, quiet person on podcasts with some rather provocative, bold people. So I'm curious. I mean, eventually tell me how you got connected with Forest Mommy. But what about like politics? As you even mentioned a little earlier, like your views and your worldview might be different from a lot of your family and friends. So I'm guessing you're somewhat center, right of center, libertarian, apolitical, or something like that. You do, I'm guessing you're not a mainstream conservative or liberal left wing type person. You're something else. So how did tell me about your political evolution journey a little bit.
Okay, so my my situation isn't particularly unique. I'm not the only one. I started out when I was a lot younger, didn't know anything. I consider myself a Democrat because, in the bullshit history that they teach in public school, I was under the impression that, oh, the Democrats are the ones who are anti-racism and pro blue collar workers and pro middle class and pro helping poor people and all that. And the conservatives are racist and they just love big corporations and big money and big business. So, basically everyone in my age group aligned to the left, and that's something you'll see like within the black demographic is most of them align with the left. But I want to see 2018. Well, so I got to talk about guns real quick, because that's kind of how it all spiraled out of control. I have always, from when I was a kid, had an interest in guns because I grew up watching violent movies and playing violent video games. So I'm like, ooh, look at these. These guns are cool.
Oh man,
So
you're not
then,
helping the cause, the 2A cause, with this. You actually are in the minority, I think, with the, or maybe not, of the video games. But you didn't cause, but like your interest was sparked by video games, I suppose. But it doesn't mean you didn't commit any violence that was
no,
sparked by
God, no.
video games.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It leads to
So-
purchases, but not to incidents per se.
exactly. But so let's see, 2018, 2016, the 2016 election came about. Donald Trump was running, so everything was like super politicized. So it's like, well, the politics are in my face now, so I kind of can't really ignore it because it's being pushed everywhere. So I'm just kind of looking around like, okay, this is all kind of crazy. We got the absolute buffoon that is Donald Trump going up against a crook, Hillary Clinton. Trump ended up winning, as we all know. And, people are reading at each other online and sometimes real life. And it's just whatever. In one of my friend groups, so there's this one of the bigger 2A channels on YouTube. It's a black dude who goes by Colion Noir.
Yeah, I know who that is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my friends, he had sent a link to one of his videos where when he was still with the NRA, he did like a mini series where he went to like these big cities like Seattle. I think he went to LA, he went to Chicago, and then the video that he linked was the one where he went to Seattle and then he like talked to people around the city, and then they were talking about how bad like the opiate or heroin, the drug problem is there, and the shit they got to deal with there. I was watching more of his stuff and I'm like, okay, this dude's a pro gun dude. Let me watch more of his stuff. And then, and then I'm like watching his stuff, doing my own research, and I'm like, oh wait, guns, we kind of need those. And I don't like the fact that people are trying to disarm us. And then, it gets even deeper when you look into the history of gun control in the United States and how it was based in racism. So, and I'm not one who complains about race all the time, like you see some people do, but that's kind of like, it's one thing where this is one of the things that made me look at the left and go, hey, what's going on? You all claim you all aren't racist, but you want me disarmed. What's going on there? And then that just led to other things like how the Klan was started by Democrats and shit like that. One thing led to another, and then I kind of started looking into conservatism a bit. And I'm like, I agree with some of this stuff. The whole gun thing, small government, anti-socialism, anti-communism, shit like that. Like, I can jive with this stuff a little bit. But then what got me, now I'm more libertarian. And what the thing that got me into that was, do you know who Toure is by chance?
Of course.
Yeah. I discovered him, he's libertarian leaning. So I'm like watching his stuff and seeing what he's doing. And I'm like, okay, what is this libertarian stuff? I've heard of it before, but I'm not too familiar. So I'm doing research, I kind of felt like libertarianism fit my personality well because, the main thing about libertarianism is, as long as you aren't hurting anybody or causing problems, do whatever you want. And that's kind of how I've always been, I'm just, like I said, just loner, low key, reserved. If you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. And that's more or less what libertarianism is. So I'm like, this is perfect for me. So that's kind of the camp I've been in since then. That was like 2018, 2019.
That's so cool to hear your journey. I appreciate that. Yeah, and Maj Toure, of course, is the founder of Black Guns Matter, who is an organization that really does great work bringing firearms education and training into not just inner cities in the country, but really all over the country, and just like just building a better culture with a respect for the Second Amendment and for guns and for firearms and all this stuff. And I know police appreciate what he does. Like they want to be in a community with people who respect firearms and know how to use and can defend themselves. It's the the intelligent cops like prefer that. So that's interesting to hear you talk about Colion Noir. That's how you say his name,
Yeah.
right? And how he kind of like, I guess he kind of did he kind of like red pill you via guns or gun issues? It almost sounds like.
More so, I guess, the more, I guess, for lack of a better term, political side of it. Because, like I said, I kind of always been pro gun, but I never really looked at the political side, like how, they want to ban guns. And, whenever a mass shooting happens, they say like dumbest things about guns because, these are people who don't know anything.
Have you ever met Colion Noir?
No, but I would like to. I very much like to.
What would you say to him if you met him and had a chance to talk to him?
I that's a good question. I haven't thought about that, Uh, I guess maybe pick his brain about maybe like his time with the NRA and stuff like that because he's also a lawyer. So I pick his brain about that a little bit. Do some shooting because I know that's what everyone wants to do. Is do some shooting.
What is your experience and history with shooting? Because you said obviously you were into movies and stories and violent video games and stuff growing up. But when did you have experience shooting even before you found Colion online and got more
Yeah.
political?
So the first time I ever shot a gun was when I was 18. This is like when I came back from Cincinnati from Xavier University. My dad, he's been in law enforcement for over 20 years. So he obviously owns guns. And he picked up that I had an interest when I was a teenager. So, he kind of showed, he didn't let me shoot when I was a teenager, but he started bringing the guns out more. He showed me what he had. And he showed you, he taught like the 4 rules of gun safety. Don't have your finger on the trigger until you're ready to fire. Keep the gun unloaded. Even if it's not loaded, treat it as if it is, and know your target and what's beyond that. He taught me that stuff. He kind of taught me the yeah, basics of how to operate a firearm, stuff like that. But he took me and my sister to a range when I was 18.
That's cool. That's great. And it's funny to like I'm almost like trying to listen to our conversation almost from like a normie perspective or a leftist perspective. They would almost be like horrified by some people would be horrified by the idea of like a father like exposing his kids to like guns. Like it's so I don't know foreign to some people, and that's kind of a foreign thing to me. Actually, I was never really around that, but I obviously not horrified by people, and it's I think a good thing. Quite the opposite. That like you're doing family bonding, you're being educated, you're being empowered and learning how to ultimately defend yourself and all this stuff. Like kudos to your dad and to Coleon and to Maj to kind of pushing you or helping you in your journey, your firearms journey, so to speak.
Right. And like I said, that's what got the ball rolling with me getting into politics because with me looking into like gun control and shit like that, you start looking into monetary policy and uh shit like that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. We didn't really go deep into. We don't have to go deep into. But a lot of people are not aware of the racist history behind gun control in the 19th century, like the post Civil War gun control and all
It
that.
actually goes back further. The first piece of gun control legislation that was signed into law on this landmass was in the 1600s when Virginia was still a colony, and it said verbatim, blacks cannot own firearms. But people don't know that. I actually wrote a thread about that. Like last year, I was hilariously sitting in the Richmond airport because I was out camping with some friends. We all brought guns out to shoot and whatever. And I was coming back home. I'm like sitting in the Richmond airport waiting on my flight. Uvalde just happened, and I'm like, so yeah, gun control has been racist from the 1600s. And here's a thread, and here's here's what happened. And that was fun. That was one of my threads that blew up.
It's funny to think about how like anytime I'll see someone on the left or they'll post something like about disparaging the NRA or criticizing the NRA or saying outlandish things that are negative about them, and the consensus like libertarian minded opinion and thought is that the NRA does not nearly go far enough in support of Toure, in support of gun rights. Like
You
they're
know,
like they're the corporate. They're in a lot of ways they're corporatist sellouts who's there just to, in some ways, make. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there to make deals with their political opponents, and also just I guess sell guns. They're more interested in selling guns because they're a lobby group, so they're being supported by manufacturers. So they're more interested in, I think, selling guns than they are actually in gun rights. Is there something to that?
yeah. And then I think it's just also, they're just trying to get people to spend money to join the NRA for them to not
Right.
do
It's
it.
make
For
money.
Wayne LaPierre to buy expensive ass suits, and then his wife to get expensive ass hairdos.
Right. They're definitely one of the most powerful lobbies, I would say, I'm guessing still. And I'm sure there's a board that is making more money than they probably deserve. That's is the case with many boards.
Yeah, pretty much. Um,
Um, yeah, go on.
uh, for anyone who listens to this, if you want to support a real gun rights group, Firearms Policy Coalition, they are always on it, on everything. They are great. Support them, follow them on social media, donate to them, and they fight the good fight. They are the gun rights organization who actually does practice what they preach.
And they're a national organization, of course.
Yes.
I'm assuming, yeah. Gotcha. How did you get connected to well, I guess how did you get into podcasting and putting your face and voice online? Was is that related to Forest Mommy, or did
Yeah,
that kind of happen
that's
before
basically
that?
all. That's all Forest Mommy. So, oh my god.
And you guys got connected on Twitter, I'm guessing. But
Yeah,
I'll let you tell the Forest Mommy origin stories.
yeah. So she and I got connected on Twitter along with like a bunch of other people. We started following each other and then talking a lot. Then August 21st, 2021, I got banned from Twitter. It was a permanent suspension because I got into an argument with someone about the Tuskegee experiment. Because this is when like the vaccine shit was like all the rage. So I got into an argument, someone got banned. She found out, and then she gave me her phone. I got her phone number and whatever, and we talked a little bit. And then she was like, "Hey, you want to do a stream this coming Sunday? We can talk about you getting banned and whatever else." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm down." So we had our very first stream sometime around then, and then we did like a couple more live streams here and there. But it's just those few for a while, and then I don't remember when specifically, but we started doing them more regularly, and we started doing them more regularly. We do it Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and Sibling Revelry. He found Forest Mommy through Chrissy Mayer, so he started following her, and then he started watching our show, and then he got brought into the fold, and he helped us with some production stuff on the back end, and then it just kind of blew up from there. And then she does the Thursday show with Alice. Their show is called Sesame Timbers.
I've watched
They
some of these
also
shows.
they also got connected from Twitter, but hilariously, Alice and I live 20 minutes away from each other. And she found me on Twitter. She was like, "Oh my God, he's a Liberty lover. Oh my God, he loves Prince. I'm a big fan of Prince. And oh my God, he's from Cleveland." Yeah, she and her family, they live 20 minutes away from me. So I met up with them, and I've been to their house several times. So it's just kind of one of those things where one thing led to another, and now here we are.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many directions I could go with that. It's just cool how, people will criticize Twitter, and rightfully so, for a lot of things. But, if you use it to your benefit and you use it wisely, you can connect with people. And that's basically how I got connected with all of you. Like, I appreciate appearing on golden streams, the
The
Sunday,
golden
the Sunday
showers.
golden showers, golden streams, yeah, on Sunday, on the Sundays. That was fun to do that. And I think I found Chrissy Mayer through Forest Mommy when Forest Mommy was on Chrissy's Simcast, of course.
Right.
and then obviously meeting you through Forest Mommy and whatnot. So it's like, and then I'm talking to sibling revelry, Paul as well, bothering him about technical advice and stuff too. So it's like we're all one big weird family, and you and Forest Mommy make for a definitely unique combination. You guys, like I don't know how much y'all have in common other than both getting banned from Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Like you were saying, we all are kind of just like, in some ways, like not outcasts. I mean, that's almost too dramatic, but kind of these. You've always been open to being friends with different kinds of people and different groups of people, and like obviously I think politics has definitely drawn a line in the sand in a lot of ways in terms of like who we want to spend the most of our time talking to, and it's not going to be people who are screaming in our faces if they disagree with us about any minor thing.
right. Um, and I had something to say, but I forgot what it was. But it'll probably come back to me later.
I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess like politics. Unfortunately, it's just become so pervasive and damn near everything. Like you can't even watch a movie without them pushing some kind of agenda. You know, and if you don't like that, you don't want to be fighting it alone. So you kind of find people
Right.
to,
Yeah.
to stand with, and Forest Mommy is one of them. And we call it the Forest Mommy Universal FMU. The FMU crew is great. And, and there are also like a lot of people that I've met locally here in Ohio.
I think that's one of the things that's really, at least for me personally too, has changed and evolved and grown. Is like I've been kind of like politically involved or more aware. My views definitely did a 180, so to speak, like around 2011, 2012 with the Ron Paul campaigns, and mostly my political activity, I guess at that point, would probably be mostly online. On Facebook, just reading and interacting and stuff like that. But eventually that became more of an offline community, which is like a totally cool thing in itself. Like connecting with, like, in some ways, this is offline. Like the fact that we're talking, having a real time conversation versus just like, replying to each other on Twitter or, same thing with you and Forrest. So it's cool to see the online conversations, and the online relationships like developing offline as well. I don't think every subculture is that way.
No,
Like,
but now that you mentioned it, me and Forest Mommy have met actually last year. Alice and her husband Adam, really great dude. They had their vow renewals last September. Forest Mommy flew out here from Colorado. Paul and his brother Doug, they drove here from Michigan, and we all hung out for a few days, had a really good time.
they all knew you were 6'8" before they arrived.
Yes.
Okay, so no one was shocked and no one asked stupid questions at that point.
Right.
That's good. One big Forest Mommy universe family. Cool. I appreciate all the stories and the journey. I feel like we covered a lot already. It's definitely been cool. I'll ask you just a couple more questions, I guess, while I got you here. I ask everybody, or I try to remember to ask, do you believe in ghosts and/or aliens, and do you have any experiences with both? And UFOs can be included in that too.
Ghosts, I haven't really put much thought into that, to be honest, so I can't really say whether or not. Aliens, I lean toward they do exist because, well, I guess, well, to answer the second part of that question, I haven't really had any experiences with aliens or extraterrestrial life in any form, but I guess my reasoning is that, well, I don't remember. There's this quote that I really like. I don't remember who said it, but the quote goes something like, there are two possibilities in this universe. Either we're completely alone or we're not, and both are equally terrifying. And it just, and the way I look at it is there, it just doesn't make sense to me that we'd be the only sentient life in all of the universe. I'm like, that just can't, that doesn't make sense to me. If we are, then that's fucking crazy. But I just don't think we are.
That doesn't actually scare me that much. For maybe it will if I sit back and think about it more. But if the only life in the entire universe was on planet Earth, Maybe wouldn't that make life more special? We wouldn't act like it though. We wouldn't care.
No, we're about getting ready to nuke each other anytime, any
Yeah,
day
yeah,
now.
yeah. We could have that information confirmed, and for like maybe a day or two, people would be like, "Wow, that's really special. We really need to appreciate life and each other." And then like 3 days later,
We're back
we
to
would
fighting
be
on
back.
Twitter.
Right, exactly. Right. It
And
never lasts.
yeah, and then I was watching something recently on YouTube where I guess there's this kind of hypothesis slash theory that going around that sentient life doesn't like all spring up at once. Like a billion different species don't spring up all at once. Like a few will sprinkle here and there, then they'll die off. Then a few more will sprinkle later on down the timeline and whatever.
And this is
Uh,
billions of years
yeah, and
you're
this is
rushing over.
yeah, and there's this like theory going around that like we're kind of like we're we might be one of the first sentient organisms in the universe, and that's why we're not finding any other signs of sentient life out there because we're one of the first. Which that is interesting to think about.
Yeah, you said you haven't had any experiences with aliens or UFOs, but do you believe they've been here? Have they been here? Or are they in Area 51? What do you
I
believe, even
I
if you
I,
haven't
t-
had personal experience with that?
I tend to lean toward yes. Area 51 or some other site because I don't know. They're so hush hush about it. It's like, what else are you supposed to think?
It seems like
Especially if
people are
it's
go on.
especially if you're someone like us who don't really trust anything they say.
Right.
So it's like they tell you, oh, there are no aliens at Area 51. We're inclined to go, well, bullshit. And there's this like there have been all these UFO sightings around, like people get them on videos, and
Yeah, they're not all crazy. They're not all lying. There's lights and flashing things, and I think the military has chased some of these flashing lights and stuff.
I do remember. I don't remember how some years ago. Uh, they had like some kind of press release or whatever, where they kind of admitted, yeah, there are these flying objects flying around the sky. We don't know what they are. They're not. We don't think they're foreign aircraft or anything like that. They just don't know. And it's like, well, at that point, what's the logical conclusion in that point?
Yeah, this is going to be used against us, I think, with the false flag soon enough. We got to stay at home because of the alien. The alien spaceship is emitting some amount of carbon dioxide or something about the aliens is they're gonna we got to stay in our house and can only use our electric stoves for 3 hours a day. Oh man, I'm
Oh,
getting dark.
something climate lockdowns. They're going to contribute to
Alien lockdown.
yeah.
Nah, too many
Well,
people want to go chase the alien.
nah, especially if they end up being hostile. Yeah, I don't want those problems.
Yeah, that's true. We got our neighbors are hostile, the government is hostile, and the aliens are hostile, are going to be. On that note, anything else you think we need to cover or you want to mention? I think we got some good stuff talking Farce Mommy, Colion Noir, Maj Toure, Pops training you a little bit. Like, got some good people who've
All right.
inspired you, I think, and helped you and connected with you over the years.
You did ask me this earlier. There are some musical artists I want to point out.
Oh yeah,
Big
Prince and Slayer.
Prince. Yep. One of my biggest influences is a guy who goes by Cell Dweller, CELLDWELLER, all one word. He's been one of my biggest musical influences. I discovered him in 2012. Just I don't know, one of his songs was in the YouTube recommended list. I clicked on it and fell in love with it. I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever had. He's a big influence. And then, in my musical journey, I've made a lot of good friends who are also musicians that inspire me and help me. And then, I do the same in return. One of them, first one I mentioned, John V. Page. You can follow him at JVP Music on Twitter. He's also in the like Liberty Twitter sphere. He's great. He's done music for some of the big Liberty podcasts like Pete Quinones show and some other ones. Another one, good friend of mine, Havoc Music, HAVAQ Music. I've known him since 2018. Uh, Great musician, great dude. Follow him, support him. Who else?
And all these guys are involved. They're all producers involved in the digital space and play instruments like they do. They're all kind
Yep,
of jack of all trades in a lot of regards,
yep,
and a lot of different genres. Whatever the project or whatever's needed, it's kind of what they can do. All these
yep.
guys.
Um, who else? I think that's all I got in that regard.
That's all good. What about
Yeah.
you? One more for you. What about in the future? Like, where do you see yourself in a year, 3 years, 5 years, or any of that? Like, what do you have any creative? I mean, you're obviously working on a lot of different things, but what would be the ideal, I guess, down the line potentially for you?
All right. So right now, I've been doing a lot of work for other people, working on music for podcasts. That should be done soon. And then so I guess this is something I should have mentioned. Probably should have mentioned earlier, but whatever. Very I have a very perfectionist mindset. Like I can't stop something until I know it's perfect. So how that relates to music is I often go back, listen to music and like notice things that I don't like, or like, oh, this snare is too quiet, or I don't like the guitars are sloppy, so I tend to go back and correct things. I've been doing a little bit of that. Uh, that hopefully won't take too long. Um, then I need to get the ball rolling on this album I've been wanting to do for a while. I have kind of started like demo and stuff out, but I am working on like a full length album.
What genre of music?
It's gonna be electronic in nature, kind of leaning towards like the industrial, but it's kind of gonna be all over the place. Like some of the idea,
Instrumental stuff.
some of it, but I actually want to do vocals, believe it or not.
Do you
So
sing?
I've started to. I just need to like actually get my voice there. I think I'm pretty decent, but it needs work.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that too. Cool. Well, I appreciate all the stories and the time for sure. I know it's it's significantly later where you are right now as we're recording this. I'm on the West Coast. Why don't you tell people where they can find you and follow you? I can see your handle up there, but for the audio listeners, I'll let you plug, promote, and whatever you want to share.
Yeah. So I like to keep things simple. So Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Instagram, Bandcamp, uh, anywhere. It's basically HEXcellerate. You just type that in, and I should come up.
H
Unless I'm.
E HEXcellerate. HEXcellerate.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, thank you again. I'm sure we'll talk more soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and let's talk soon.
All right. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for
You got
having
it.
me.
You got it, man. Later. So there you have it, episode 139 with Hex. I thank him for his time. That was a lot of fun getting to chat and getting to know him a little bit better. For everything about this show, of course, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com, at People We Love Podcast on Instagram. I'm at Adam Choid on Instagram and Twitter. If you'd like to follow me for all my other projects and stuff, please check out adamchoid.com. I think that's pretty much all I got for today. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate everyone listening. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the support. Plenty more coming soon. So let's talk soon. Peace.